Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on my channel. In today's video, I have yet another unboxing for you guys, this time of another pair of football boots. In this box, I have the Nike Zoom Mercurial Vapor 16 Elite in the AG Pro stud pattern. This is part of the Mad Energy colorway pack. As you can see here, your base color is Ember Glow with an accent of Aurora Green in a men's 11 or a women's 12.5 in the US. As you guys can see, it comes in the usual silver box, although with this box, things are a little different because on the original Nike boxes, I believe the swooshes were black, and they also had the word Nike written on the box, whereas now you only get the white swoosh. So a little bit of a subtle touch up to the box, which is pretty cool. We open the box, let's get to the stuff. Paper out of the way. As you guys can see, here's the left boot. You can see it comes with a tag saying AG plate for artificial grass. You can see the text on the inside if I can open this properly. Artificial grass plate, optimal traction, extra cushioning, extra flex groove, etc., in different languages. So that's the left boot. Get off the right boot. And then, of course, we get a string bag, which is a really nice, like, pinkish, crimsonish bag with a bunch of spellings of Nike football in different languages and a giant blue swoosh across the front. So with everything out of the box, let's get into this unboxing. So to start out with some basic information about this football boot, this is, of course, the Nike Mercurial Vapor 16 Elite, or Zoom Mercurial Vapor 16 Elite, whatever you want to call it, with the AG Pro stud pattern. This is the low-cut variation of the Mercurial. You can also get a Superfly 10, which comes with the high collar sock. But this is the low-cut variation and the one that most people will be getting if they choose to go with a Mercurial. It is part of the Mad Energy pack, which was originally released in winter 2024. I can't remember if it was in December or January, but it was one of the 2 months. And it costs $340 at regular retail, which is the price you'll see for pretty much any Mercurial football boot that's a Vapor and is not in the Soft Ground Pro stud pattern variation. Although because this is an outgoing colorway, as well as the Prism Pack colorway, they've had these on sale for about a week now. So they're now going for about $240, 30% off, which is why I ended up picking up this pair. This version features, of course, the AG Pro outsole, which is designating that the boot is designed for use on artificial grass pitches, be it a 4G or a 3G pitch, depending on which type of surface you play on. Normally, I don't really go for AG Pro variations of football boots, but if you guys know me and you've heard a bit of my stories about injuries, you'll know that I'm very prone to ankle and knee injuries. It's just something that I've had to deal with growing up. And as a result, I play on artificial grass most of the time because the grass fields in my area are not very good. I love the Mercurial silo, and obviously, as we know, the stud pattern on the Mercurial is very aggressive compared to what you see on this AG Pro outsole variation. So it puts a lot of strain on my knees, my joints, especially my knees though, because, you know, when you're changing direction, you're cutting, the blades of the Mercurial get stuck in the ground. And as such, it causes you to, like, you know, put on extra force and extra wear through your joints, which increases your risk of injury and is not a good thing, all things considered. So for me, I figured that as I'm getting older and I'm also more so like kind of determined to just wear Mercurials for the most part because those are the boots that I really like, I figured that I should get a Mercurial that does, you know, give me the Mercurial that I want, but also does do a good job of protecting my joints from adverse injuries when I'm playing on artificial grass. And, you know, based on everything that we've learned about the AG Pro outsoles that Nike makes, you can also use them on firm natural grass. So, you know, I figured it was a win-win, especially because it's on sale. I was like, okay, I might as well just get a pair. That way I have an artificial pair of boots that I can use the majority of the time when I go to the turf, especially because I have 2 other pairs of artificial ground Mercurials in the form of a Superfly 7 Elite and a Superfly 8 Elite. But my Superfly 7 Elite is on its last legs, more or less. It's kind of worn down, so I didn't want to use it and damage it any further. And my Superfly 8, it causes me blisters on my heel because of the sock collar. And I used to be used to it, but then when I got injured and I didn't play for a while, it kind of was desensitized, or I was resensitized to the feeling of that collar against my ankle. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go through the whole process of, you know, bleeding ankles and feeling all this pain just to, you know, be able to wear these boots again. So I might as well just get something that I know out of the box isn't going to cause me any blisters and will feel comfortable. Hence why I got this pair. Tech-wise, the Mercurial Vapor 16 Elite is more or less the exact same as any other Vapor 16 you'll get, be it the soft ground or the firm ground variation, the only main difference being in the sole plate. So I'm just going to start with the upper and work my way down through there. With the upper, you get a 3-layer construction. The boot is obviously made of primarily grip knit, but the grip knit comes basically in this central area here. So from where you see this seam running down the side, and this other seam running down the side, this is all grip knit. Then when you have the laces over here, that's a regular fly knit, which stretches so that you'll be able to put the boots on, as you guys can see. And then on these sides where the seams continue down towards the bottom of the boot and towards the back, that's called atom knit. Now, atom knit is just fly knit that's been reverse engineered in a way that makes it a lot stronger but a lot thinner, thus reducing weight but increasing the support of the football boot. Obviously, the most important part of this football boot will be the grip knit, which provides you more of a waxy feeling to the upper, and is supposed to provide a bit more grip on the ball when you're dribbling, striking, or trying to take a touch out of the air. It is obviously something that takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's nowhere near as grippy as what you'll get on, like, let's say the Phantom GX2 or the, incoming Phantom 6. It's more so like just above like your typical speed boot upper with the mesh, or maybe like a synthetic that's kind of smooth, or even like traditional fly knit, but still gives you enough of a kind of feeling that you know that there's something working to give you some extra support on the ball. And as such, given how thin this upper is, you get a really barefoot sensation. The upper being fly knit wraps your foot really well and stretches extremely well to accommodate a wide variety of foot types. I myself have wide feet, so I've always felt super comfortable in these, especially because the fly knit does stretch, or well, the grip knit does stretch over time as you use it. And like I said, very thin, very raw, very barefoot, and pingy touch you'll get on the ball, but not like extremely thin to the point where like you'll feel like as though you're feeling everything per se. Like there's still a little bit of cushion and slight protection that you get from this upper. So it's very solid in that regard. When it comes to the heel area, as you guys can see, if I take out this filling paper, there's another one in there, but like I'll leave that in there. You guys can see that the heel area is pretty decently sculpted. It is a little wider than some of the previous boots that I've owned. Like for example, with the new Hypervenom remakes that I just got, and I'm pretty sure the video should be up by now by the time you guys see this one, that heel area is a bit more narrow. This is a bit wider. So I think it does well to accommodate wider foot types as well. But it can be a little annoying because you get like slight, at least for me, I get slight dead space, especially along this side. This side's not so bad, but on this side I get a little bit of slight dead space. But even still, it does hug my heel very well. And as you guys can see on the inside, you do get heel cushions that wrap from basically the lateral side all the way to the medial side. They're like a kind of foam with a synthetic, like suede kind of liner. And it is very comfortable and gives you a really nice feeling on feet when, trying to break into football boots. With regards to the actual heel counter, it's an internal plastic heel counter, as you guys can see. And the heel counter kind of stops around like here. And then the rest of the heel is actually hollowed, or I think U-shaped. It's one of the two. I can't exactly tell which one. But it's hollowed out around where your Achilles tendon is. And this is done so to make sure that when you have the boots on, the heel area isn't actually pressing against your Achilles tendon, thus giving the option to create blisters or an uncomfortable sensation when wearing the boots. It just gives you the support where it's absolutely necessary towards the base of your heel. So that does a very good job at making you feel comfortable, but also locked in at the same time. And it's a very solid heel system. Now we get to the outsole. And before I do this, let me just grab my FG variation. So yeah, as you guys can see, let me just push these back a little bit. Here's my FG version of the Mercurial Vapor 16. As you guys can see, this is the electric pack colorway. I've worn it in pretty well. It's very dirty. Honestly, need to clean it. But as you guys can see, this is the normal outsole that you'll get on the Vapor 16. With both outsoles, one thing is very similar. You still get the 3/4 length zoom unit that runs from the tip of the foot all the way to about right where the heel is. And it provides you a nice amount of cushion and balance and responsiveness whenever you're trying to push off, run, change direction. The overall effect is that of cushion, so it does increase the overall comfort, and it's a very noticeable feeling that you get on feet. And the actual frames of the outsoles are also, just your solid nylon plastic that has really good responsiveness through the forefoot and is very stable through the midfoot. Same thing on this one. I got to take out that other sheet of paper actually, so you guys can see it perfectly. Let me take that out. But yeah, again, very responsive through the forefoot and very stable through the midfoot. The only real difference, again, comes in those stud patterns. So as you guys can see on this version, the FG version, you get 4 blades towards the front, 2 like smaller blades as well as like toe pick studs really. And then the heel, you have just complete blades. And of course you have those arrow fins that run, or speed fins, whatever you want to call them, that run through the actual air zoom unit to increase surface area and overall activation of the stud pattern. This is obviously very good when it comes to traction, especially on firm grass, because of course it digs into the grass and you're able to just take off and push off like really quickly. But the reason why it's so effective on grass without giving you injuries is because grass is able to break away, or I wouldn't say grass so much, but the dirt and the grass, they're able to break away under your feet because they're not like glued in or held in very securely. That's just how grass and nature works. So you're able to just kind of twist and pivot and break off the grass whenever you're moving and not really experience too much force to your ankles or your knees or your hips even, because the grass is able to give way. And as such, you get the most benefit from the traction of this outsole. However, when you apply this to artificial grass is a lot more abrasive, and rubber by nature is a lot more grippy. So whenever you plant in the forward direction, it's not too bad because you're still going forward. But the main issue is when you try and twist and pivot, because obviously that grip and that abrasiveness of the stud pattern will kind of force your ankle to work harder or your knee to work harder as you pivot to try and get out of the ground. And as such, you put more force and more risk of injury on yourself. With the new stud pattern that you get from the AG Pro outsole, and honestly, it's not a new stud pattern. It's been around since, I believe, Superfly 5 and Vapor 11. It's been the same outsole, just different variations. You guys can see, instead of 6 studs in the front, you now have 8, which are all conical and they're hollowed out. And towards the heel, you have 2 hollowed out studs and then the 2 blades, as well as the speed fins. So again, the speed fins are there to increase surface area and activate the zoom unit. However, with these conical studs, you now have that freedom to twist and pivot because there's a round surface for the studs to kind of pivot around. Additionally, Nike claims that by having the studs hollowed out, they have a bit more room to flex and kind of just compress, which will apparently allow forces to be distributed a lot more freely through the boot and into the ground than directly into your knees or your ankles. So this is all tech that is very good and will provide you with a very nice feeling of speed and, freedom when you're playing with the boots without putting you at such of a risk when you're playing. Another thing to mention is the actual overall durability. Like I just mentioned, turf is very abrasive, especially when it's hot. It can really kind of cause issues with durability, especially for like firm ground boots. Because one, the glue that's used to put them together, it causes it to melt and can cause sole separation, especially along these borders right here. But especially on the studs themselves. Like, again, if you look at this pair, I've used it on turf quite a few times. And like, if I just focus on this stud, for example, it's obviously still sharp, but it's rounding off a bit. And that's from the abrasiveness of the turf. Every time you play on the turf with bladed studs and you have to try and force yourself to twist and pivot, you are putting a lot of heat and energy through the studs, which indefinitely will wear them down a lot quicker than you will on firm natural grass. It's part of the reason why if you wear like a firm ground pair of Vapors, for example, on turf versus natural grass, and you go to return them to Nike, if they wear down too quickly, they can void your warranty because that's what turf will do to them. They're not designed for turf, and as such, they shouldn't be worn. With these boots, however, again, that energy gets dispersed through the actual holes of the studs, and the roundness of the studs allow them to move a lot more freer, and as such, require less energy or, I guess, indirect contact with heat or friction in order to make those same movements. And as such, that increases the overall durability and longevity of the football boot. On some older Nike AG models, they also had like a little lip that came up around here because of that issue of sole separation that I mentioned from the glue and the heat. But I guess on the Vapor 16, they kind of got rid of it, maybe because they're counting on the fact that the boots are going to be that durable to where they don't actually separate, even if you play on turf a lot. And I mean, I think it's probably going to be pretty solid because my Vapor 15s in that luminous colorway, that pink colorway, I've worn those on turf a lot. A lot in the last 2 years, honestly, primarily where I use them. And they are still fine. They had no sole separation at all. I think they're slightly starting to see it, like a teensy bit. But in 2 years, after a lot of use on turf, to only have like a teensy bit of sole separation. I guess that speaks to the overall durability of the Nike Mercurial Stylo. So I think this should be pretty solid, all things considered, when it comes to durability. But obviously the main issue is injury prevention. That's why I got these football boots. And then as a plus as well, this artificial ground sole plate, even though it's like said to be for artificial ground, as you guys can see, the studs are pretty long themselves. Like if I hold the Vapor, firm ground and the soft firm ground and artificial ground variations next to each other, the studs look about the same length. I always hear that they're shorter on the artificial ground variations, but they look about the same length to me. Maybe it's because I'm not holding them right, but they do look to be about the same length, all things considered. So if you decide to wear these on firm ground, you could do that and also get away with it. Like, yeah, the studs will be full of dirt because they're hollowed out. But again, you'll get really good traction because conical studs, they're good on firm ground anyways. You'll get good traction. You have these kind of fins for generating speed. It'll be solid for natural grass. Like obviously it's not going to have the same amount of traction per se because it's not bladed, but it's still a solid amount of traction. You're not really going to notice that much of a difference from using these on artificial or on natural grass. So all in all, if you're looking for a better overall boot, but you still want to wear the Mercurial Vapor or the Superfly by extension, or even some of the other Nike models like the Phantom 6, which also has a more aggressive firm ground stud pattern than the artificial ground one. The artificial ground variation is probably the better option, all things considered, because it just works better for artificial grass in terms of keeping you safe, but can also be a very useful option when playing on firm ground if you don't want to buy like a firm ground specific pair of boots. On feet, the Mercurial Vapor 16 Elite AG Pro feels like an absolute dream. The boots fit very snugly out of the box, as you'd expect. The Mercurial has a really narrow last. It is designed to fit more so narrow-footed players, but as the boot has evolved over time, it does fit better to accommodate wider-footed players like myself. When it comes to the overall fit, it's, I would say, narrowest through the midfoot, and then like my toes are like right up to the actual front of the football boot. I'm wearing my Nike cushion socks or strike socks. I'm more of like a cushion soccer socks, not like true grip socks. So I do have a nice amount of space from the top of the boot to where the top of my knuckles are on my foot, making it so that they're able to move and flex comfortably without being too snug or too tight. And the fit is actually true to size when it comes to the overall length and width. When it comes to the heel area, I'm getting absolutely no pressure through the back thanks to that hollowed out heel counter. It feels really nice and really soft on the foot. When it comes to like just lifting the foot and moving, obviously there's a little bit of heel slippage for me, but it's like so minute, like it doesn't even really matter. And that's because obviously I get some dead space around my ankle. Pretty much the exact same that I would get on my Vapor 16 firm ground variation. But other than that, it's such a very nice fit. It's very close fitting, very nice wrapping, just very true. The foot hugs your foot and keeps you like really locked in, all things considered. And obviously the main appeal of this football boot in particular would be the artificial ground sole plate. It's very nice underfoot. You honestly can't even really feel a difference in the studs. All you're really getting when you have these on feet are just the Air Zoom unit, which is very nice, very cushioned, feels pretty springy when I kind of like bounce off like that. Super comfortable, super nice. And obviously when it comes to rotation, the ability to twist and pivot, obviously this is on a turf mat, it's not on a true turf field, but as you guys can see, super easy, super free, absolutely no restriction at all when I try to do that. So, very nice, very comfortable, very balanced underfoot, feels absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to bust these out on an artificial grass pitch and get a good training session in. Like I said, if you're going to get these, go true to size, maybe half a size up if you feel that you have really wide feet and you want something with a little bit more space. Otherwise, these boots will fit pretty much perfectly. When it comes to comfort out of the box, they are pretty comfortable. They might need a little bit of break-in time if your feet are on the wider side, but after about like one session or so, these will feel like absolute butter on your feet. Absolutely fantastic. All things considered, the Vapor 16 Elite in the AG Pro outsole is definitely a fantastic football boot. And honestly, the only reason that you buy this over the FT variation is because of that outsole. It's kind of self-explanatory. You get something that will allow you to basically wear the same grip knit upper with a super thin barefoot sensation, an incredibly light, tight wrap around your foot, but with an outsole that does a lot more for you in terms of protecting your ankles and also increasing the durability of your football boots. As I mentioned before, these conical studs will increase your ability to twist and pivot without putting so much stress on your ankles or your knees or your hips or other relative joints, and as such protect you not completely from injury, because no football boot will completely prevent you from getting injured, but it greatly reduces your risk. And that's the main goal of wanting to play football. You want to be safe in as much as you want to enjoy it. And of course, when it comes to the firm ground side of things, if that's a reason why you're thinking about not getting the artificial ground variation, this will still give you fantastic traction on artificial ground. The studs are just about long enough to where they will dig into the grass very well. And you still get some aggressive traction in the form of the speed fins here and these blades towards the heel. So even though it's not going to be anywhere near as aggressive or, speed focused as what you get from the FG variation, it's still a very good outsole you're getting here, something that will serve you very well on both firm ground and also on artificial ground, while also probably lasting a lot longer compared to the FG version, especially when used on artificial ground pitches. With that all being said, guys, that's it for my unboxing of this football boot. If you liked the video, please make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and of course subscribe, as it shows me that you guys really enjoy the content and you want to see more. Stay tuned, as I'll have more training sessions and unboxings coming soon. Definitely looking forward to getting a session on the field with these, recording that and posting it, as well as other things like footy talks, other interesting training sessions, reviews, etc., and the like. Just plenty of content coming your way this summer. But with that all being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.